New recording is on.
2-2. Hey, 1-1. All right, so we got Halloween in this next one.
Oh, I'm so excited. I love Halloween.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to an edition of This Week in History. I am joined by Melly Kazel, and she has not heard these historical headlines before, so Mel will be asking questions and helping me recount This Week in History.
Hello, I'm very excited to be here.
October 29th, 1929, just 5 days after nearly 13 million shares of U.S. stock were sold in one day in 1929, an additional 16 million shares were sold this day, called Black Tuesday, further fueling the crisis known as the Great Depression.
Ooh, everybody's selling, nobody's buying. That's bad news. Oh my goodness. What did they call it? Black Tuesday?
Yeah.
Why is it always that when chaos strikes? It's like the darkness has come in. Like, what is the deal? Can we pick something else?
How about White Tuesday?
Well, we could just go with the theme, Great Depression, very, very sad Tuesday, continuing into Wednesday, another terrible day. Wait,
right.
We did have a terrific Thursday? Just kidding. Nope, terrible Thursday as well. Freakishly, just terrible Friday. I don't know a lot of, I'm trying to do alliteration, then I forgot every F word that exists that is appropriate to say.
Fucking Friday.
Oh my gosh.
October 29th, 2015, it was announced that China was ending its one-child policy. Beginning in 2016, couples could have 2 children. So for a long time, China, because of overpopulation, made a rule, the government made a rule, you can only have 1 kid. Americans would flip it over that. Even if they didn't want kids, they'd be upset.
They would, well, people are always upset about something. But, I mean, it's...
That's true.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to control how many kids people can have.
October 29th, 1998, Hurricane Mitch McConnell, just kidding, made landfall, hitting northern Honduras, one of the deadliest Atlantic hurricanes on record. It caused some 11,000 deaths in Central America.
That is a terrible name for that hurricane. We need someone new in the naming department. We have all these great names. Hurricane Katrina, like all these. Hurricane Mitch? Like, what man named Mitch pissed the weather guys off that week and then they just pick that name? I don't even know where to begin with that. Like, it's a very serious, sad event that no one can take seriously because it's named for just like some guy who you picture sadly walking to work with his briefcase. Like, Mitch. Oh.
October 30th, 2003, American basketball player LeBron James, who was drafted directly out of high school, made his NBA debut with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Oh, LeBron James, the icon. He's been all over a bunch of different teams, hasn't he?
I think so. I don't follow basketball too much, so.
I think he's hopped around, and then I think he's back. There was a time where he went back to Cleveland as well.
Could be.
But yeah, he's jumped all over. Very successful.
You run the sports desk around here, so you tell me.
Well, we used to go to Portland Trailblazer games, so I don't really know if that counts as running the sports desk. We went to games just to be in the raffles, because my mom always wins. You put her name in a raffle, she will be picked.
Wow.
Yeah, we were not there for basketball. We were there for the free stuff that they will pick her for.
Okay, we're into the Halloween section. You ready?
Heck yeah.
October 31st. Everywhere, all the time. Although Halloween, celebrated this day, is now observed largely as a secular holiday, it is, as the eve of All Saints' Day, also a religious holiday among some Christians. Which is interesting because around here, all of the Christian friends that I had, the ones that were very extreme were like, no, Halloween, that's a devil's thing and blah, blah, blah. But sounds like they were a little wrong.
Mm-hmm. Well, there are a lot of different traditions that celebrate that day.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting to see how different it is depending on, because when it was like a Christian holiday, it's very different than like the pagan holiday or even like ancient Celtic holiday. They would also celebrate like the changing times of year, and it's very magical. I don't have anything funny. It's just magical and spooky, and I love it.
October 31st, 2020, Scottish-born actor Sean Connery, who is perhaps best known for his portrayal of the super spy, James Bond, died at age 90. Didn't know he died on Halloween. That's scary.
Ooh, I think that means he's haunting everybody.
That's scary.
That's what I'm going to pick. He's haunting everybody in his James Bond persona.
Yeah.
Like, he'll just show up to bars and they're like, oh my gosh, I thought Sean Connery died. And he's like, shaken, not stirred. And then he vanishes into thin air.
October 31st, 1941. After nearly 15 years of work, the Mount Rushmore National Memorial in the Black Hills of South Dakota was completed. The colossal sculpture features the heads of Presidents George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. That's scary.
That's finished on Halloween?
Yeah.
See, they say it's like a very Christian religion, but I feel like there's maybe some witchcraft going on
There you go,
in the old days of the U.S. government. Because a lot of stuff would they have a lot of hidden societies, and then they finish their sculpture on Halloween. I don't know.
There's some kind of a Masonic conspiracy theory there, some kind of Masonic temple conspiracy theory.
I met some people who are in the Masons.
Oh, yeah?
And they were like, we can't tell you anything about it. And I was like, you should, though, because I won't tell anyone. I keep it to myself, but still tell me. But they're very secretive, to the point where I heard anyone who they find out tells people will suddenly appear with bruises all over them. So it's and they'll set up meeting rooms that look like you're having a meeting. Like the one in my town that I grew up in, it would always look like there was a meeting going on, but no one was ever actually in the room. So it's like a decoy room, and they would really have meetings in the basement. But that's just from my own observation. No one told me anything. That's just my detective work independently.
Yeah. No one to beat up. There's no one to beat up if there's anyone who's listening. October 31st, 1926. Harry Houdini, the magician and escape artist, died of peritonitis stemming from a stomach injury. He died on Halloween. Harry Houdini.
Wait, Houdini died from a stomach injury?
Yeah, so he had this running bet, if you will, with anyone that he could absorb any punch. So it was just one of his party tricks, performance art, whatever, one of the things he would do. And I believe the thing is that he was backstage, and some college kids came back all drunk and looking to be assholes, and said, I hear you can take any punch. And he's like, yes I can, and stands up, and he wasn't, he needs to flex his muscles and prepare his body for this, and he wasn't prepared, and they just hit him so hard that they ruptured internal organs and caused this bleeding or whatever it was from a punch from his bet, and that's how he died, not drowning. He would do where he'd be handcuffed and thrown in a bucket over the water, and all these really dangerous things that involved him either regurgitating a key and unlocking his handcuffs upside down in water with holding his breath in the dark. All these incredible stunts, and he died from some college kid punching him in the stomach.
That's so embarrassing for him. But also, can you imagine, say, ghosts exist. Can you imagine being haunted by a magician? They could play tricks on you beyond just being a ghost.
Yeah.
Just make things appear constantly, just puffs of smoke appear and disappear. Yeah. Those college kids made a mistake. Their family is forever haunted by a magician that can regurgitate keys and swallow them. Where'd my keys go? Where did they come back from? You should get them washed. That's
right. Well, his wife became big into seances because of his death, and kind of spent a lot of her life chasing what happens to you when you die, believing that he's still around, trying to communicate with him, and became huge into mediums and seances. So very scary. That's a very scary one.
That's scary, but it's also sweet that she just spent her life trying to figure out where he went. She really loved him.
Yeah. Scary sweet. October 31st, 1922. Benito Mussolini became the Prime Minister of Italy. He was the first of Europe's fascist dictators in the 20th century. That's scary.
Mussolini. See, all these things, I'm telling you, witchcraft. Something's going on. I'll never forget. I was in a class once where we were learning about fascism and Mussolini. And there was a question response of what is fascism, all this stuff. And some kid wrote on their paper, and our teacher had to talk to everybody about this, was it wasn't really a bad idea. And that's all they wrote. And their teacher had to talk to us like, no, fascism is a very bad idea. And I don't want anyone to get confused. And like, if you haven't read the chapter, just don't respond to the question.
Wow. October 31st, 1864. Nevada became the 36th state of the United States. That might be the scariest one of them all.
Now I want to go to Nevada on Halloween. Now I want to see if anything extra spooky will happen there.
There you go.
It's very hard to get out of those casinos. Very difficult.
November 1st, 1997. James Cameron's Titanic, a drama about the doomed ocean liner, had its first public screening at the Tokyo International Film Festival. The movie would become one of the highest-grossing films of all time, and it made Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet international stars.
I like the movie, but someone ruined it for me recently.
Yeah.
And they said it's essentially just a story of someone's grandma telling them about her crazy sex life on a boat when she was in her 20s. And now that's the only way I could think about it. It's like all these kids are like, Grandma, we don't need to know that. We don't want to know about the car. We don't want to know about you being painted naked. We want the gemstone. Like, we want... And then she doesn't even give it to him. She just tosses it over the edge of the boat. Like, now they had to hear all her gross stories, and they don't even get it.
That's right. It's basically a grandma sex cruise.
TMI, Grandma.
November 1st, 1938. In a horse race that captured the imagination of Americans during the Great Depression, Seabiscuit defeated War Admiral by 4 lengths.
Seabiscuit.
You ever see the movie with Tobey Maguire, Seabiscuit?
I think a long time ago. I do not remember it. It also had to be cool to have, like, War Admiral beaten by Seabiscuit. The last thing you'd expect.
Yeah, even their names show who's the underdog and who was the reigning champ. November 1st, 1611. William Shakespeare's The Tempest was reportedly performed for the first time.
Well, he wrote so weird, and people didn't talk like that either. He was just like a weird dude who decided, like, I'm going to write in a language that no one understands, but they will have to read in high school and decipher for their English papers.
Or was he a dude at all?
Ah, that's true. I've heard the theory.
Or was he several dudes? Or several dudes and several gals?
We'll never know.
Very scary. Very witchy. Very Halloween. November 1st, 1512. For the first time, the general public was able to view Michelangelo's fresco on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel in the Vatican Palace. The artwork is among the greatest achievements in Western painting.
How'd he get up there? Was he just on a ladder, like, head back?
Yeah, he was on his back on a very tall scaffolding.
Okay.
So he painted on his back.
That's got to be nice laying down. I always pictured him just, like, up there. Just
like,
and then he gets back down and he has to go to the chiropractor because his neck is just stuck like that.
On like one of those really tall A-frame ladders that's just like...
Yeah, it's just shaking and he's up there like trying not to make mistakes. Oh my gosh, I am a terrible artist. Just horrible. To the point that one of my teachers once had me draw something that kind of looked like a face, and she was like, I am a miracle worker.
November 2nd, 1976, Jimmy Carter was elected the 39th President of the United States, narrowly defeating Republican Gerald R. Ford.
I don't know much about Mr. Carter. Anything notable he did?
Didn't start any wars.
That's good. He's got to be one of the few out there.
One of the few.
Just doing his thing, focusing here and not getting involved. I like that energy. He also just had to be like, I am a nice guy, I promise. We're not going to do anything crazy. Don't worry, we're just going to stay at home and just relax after what just happened.
Yeah, that's probably why he won. He was a peanut farmer.
Peanut farmer gets to be the president. That's so cool. But the guy from The Apprentice and a literal ghost, like, that's just terrible. Can we go back? Can we find a sweet little peanut farmer to take over the country? That's what I want.
Peanut Farmer 2024. November 2nd, 2000. The first resident crew, including 1 American and 2 Russians, arrived at the International Space Station.
Yeah, but like the International Space Station, they had to feel amazing getting to... Probably terrified also, like we talked about with some other stuff, being the first people to go out there, like, will we be able to breathe? How confident are you?
Yeah. Would you do one of these private space trips?
Absolutely not in a million years. No, they couldn't even send a submarine into the water without killing people. Like, I'm not about to go to space. No. Unless it is go to space or die because, like, the Earth is crumbling, then I'd leave.
Right.
But otherwise, You could not pay me to get on a tiny shuttle with a group of people, most of whom I probably will not enjoy, and then just be trapped out in space with them? No, absolutely not.
November 2nd, 1983, U.S. President Ronald Reagan signed a bill designating the third Monday in January a national holiday in memory of Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh, that's a nice one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Probably one of the only good things Reagan did.
Yeah. I don't know much about what he did, but I like that. Some people definitely should be remembered. We need a day to just appreciate. Because a lot of movies about him was like he kind of stepped up. A lot of people through history, but step up when they don't want to put their family in danger, the people they love in a position, but it's like they're the person who has to do this and has to help everyone. And so they put all of their fear aside and just do it anyway. And I think that is incredible.
November 2nd, 1947. American aviator and filmmaker Howard Hughes piloted the Spruce Goose, an 8-engine wooden flying boat intended to carry 750 passengers on its only flight, 1 mile.
If you want people to be confident, you cannot name it the Spruce Goose. We need somebody else to be doing this. That there's no scenario in which people were like, I'm going to live. He's going to live. This is going to be great. I would love to ride your Spruce Goose. That sounds like something a kid made in their backyard and was like, Dad, look! Like that is. Oh, I love it though. But there must not have been a lot of confidence. I think people were just watching, waiting for something bad to happen. And then when it kept working, they were like, oh my gosh!
It was huge. It was huge. And it was made out of wood, which is why it's called the Spruce Goose. I believe it was a media given name, a paper reporter or radio reporter coined that name, and then it kind of took on. I'm sure he had some sort of A1700, some sort of model name for it. But yeah, Spruce Goose doesn't inspire confidence, and I think it was the biggest airplane at the time. Just this massive plane that had to take off from water because there was no runway wide enough or long enough for it to take off, and just too big to really catch on, too big to fly. November 2nd, 1917, the British issued the Balfour Declaration, a statement of support for the, quote, establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. It was made in a letter from Arthur James Balfour, the British Foreign Secretary. I was including that one, I'm not trying to get into any current political things, but it was important, I thought.
Yeah, it's a tough subject right now, especially for me, just because there are a lot of threats against Jewish people right now of like, and it's, when people say they want to help other people and they want to help have peace, and then they say hateful things and they make threats, that's not really peace. Like I'm very much for all people in Israel and Palestine to have peace and for no one to kind of get in the way of that. But when people decide like, because I pick this side, I have to hate other people. You don't have to hate anyone. You can support human beings. You do not have to be hateful. Hate is a choice. Yeah,
absolutely. If we're going to be upset at anyone, we can be upset at the British. November 3rd, 1992, Democratic politician Carol Moseley Braun became the first African-American woman elected to the U.S. Senate.
It has to be such a victory. Because I even remember just in my lifetime having like Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the Supreme Court was just amazing. This is so cool. I can't, like, that has to be such a great time to get to see and be alive and like I imagine there were so many celebrations, especially where she was a senator for.
Illinois,
the state that everyone thinks is actually called Chicago.
November 3rd, 1978. Dominica achieved full independence with Patrick Rowland John as its first prime minister. We're in November. We're still in independent scene. We're still revolutionary.
Because see, now we're moving past the time of the spirits being active. So I wonder what's still inspiring this.
We're early November. So maybe it's lingering. Lingering
energy.
Lingering spiritual energy. We'll have to see as we get into December whether this keeps going.
Yes.
November 3rd, 1957. The Soviet Union launched Sputnik 2, which carried the dog Laika, the first living creature to be shot into space and orbit the Earth.
No, terrible. Why are we sending sweet little dogs Pick that lady who always complains about her food even though nothing's wrong. Let's shoot her into space. Let's leave the sweet little dogs at home.
We did a little bonus episode on Laika, so folks can check that out. And I'm trying to remember if she was the first living creature. I think they shot, an orbit Earth. Yeah, she was the first to orbit. They did shoot other creatures pre-Laika, possibly a cat or a mouse or something smaller into space. Yeah, we did a whole episode on Laika, so check it out. Very sad.
It's so sad. And also, like, why is that necessary? Like, what? Let's just see how many things we can shoot into space. That's like dudes at a party who have a terrible idea and their buddy's like, yeah, let's do it. Like, we don't leave the little animals be. It's interesting too, because I'm like, when they shoot people out there just to see what happens, I'm like, that's fine. But if it's a cute little dog, absolutely not. I don't know what that is.
November 3rd, 1903, influenced by Felipe Jean Bonavera and U.S. interests, a revolutionary junta proclaimed Panamanian independence from Colombia.
Do you think when they just, when they got up there, they just went, pandemonium! And then they just... That's what I want to have happen. I know it was more serious than that, but that's what I'm going to picture in my head.
The Mexican Revolution, which we covered a week or two ago, that was the legend. Was it Miguel Hidalgo rang the bell from one of the churches and had this big declaration. So it was that kind of like standing on the rooftop, waving your fist in the air. So sometimes it is like that. November 3rd, 1793. French social reformer and feminist Olympe de Gouges, who challenged conventional views on a number of matters, especially the role of women as citizens, was executed by guillotine.
Whew. I know, now anybody can say they're a feminist just to, like, get a date on Tinder, but that guy, like, he got his head cut off. Like, that's a real feminist, you know?
Original name, Mary. Yes, this is a woman.
Oh, when you were a feminist back then, you were oftentimes executed for being a witch. So it's good that she was still a regular person. That she was probably like, that's kind of a win. That's something. I said my beliefs and I don't have magical powers all of a sudden.
Maybe this is the end of the revolutions here, because this person tried to stand up and they got their head chopped off.
Yeah, everyone's like, that's a bad idea. We're gonna, let's not go down that path. I do enjoy my head.
Maybe the spirits have fully receded at this point, and poor Olympe de Gouges was left alone.
Can you imagine, like, Olympe de Gouges, any last words? And they're like, yeah, say my name again. Try to pronounce it, I dare you.
November 4th, 2008, Democratic politician Barack Obama became the first African-American to be elected president of the United States.
At my school, they had a mock election where, like, everybody voted, and then we saw who won. And we were kids, so we didn't, like, get that it was a big deal. Because we were just kids at school, but we got to have a party. Like, we didn't really get what was going on. We were like, we get cake. This is the best.
November 4th, 2001. The first film adaptation of J.K. Rowling's best-selling Harry Potter series, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, premiered in London.
Oh, I love Harry Potter. Yeah, my mom read them to me when I was little. Like, it was such a big thing. Yeah. And what's your favorite of the movies?
Of the movies? Probably the first one. Or maybe the third.
She also has ghostwritten like under a pseudonym, a bunch of other stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That's really, really good, which I think she should just stick to like that and not be on Twitter. That's what I'm going for J.K. Rowling is like, your books are amazing. Delete social media.
Not a fan of the short form. November 4th, 1980, conservative Republican Ronald Reagan was elected the 40th president of the United States.
Woo-hoo, Ronald Reagan. As I said before, I don't know much about what he did or most presidents when I was not alive.
Not good. We'll add Ronald Reagan to the not good category.
What was not good?
Oh, he was super conservative. He started the war on drugs. So super racially motivated drug laws, and not great with policing. Was a super hypocrite and had the Iran-Contra affair where he was just selling guns to get money to do whatever he wanted to outside of Congress because Congress wouldn't give him money to do what he wanted to. So he basically just did a Trump thing where he's like, I'll just do some deals on the side, sell some guns to some, people fighting in some other, just mucking shit up. Obviously, he invaded Grenada, largely overlooked the AIDS epidemic. Reagan, not great. We could go on and on. Maybe we'll have to do a deep dive. We'll do a deep dive about Reagan sometime.
Deep dive into Reagan. That's also the war on drugs is just like if people want drugs first, they're going to find drugs and do drugs. Their solution is to get people not to do drugs. Let's just put them in jail and not help them with their addiction. Like it's not a logical thought. If they talk to any medical professional, they'd be like, that's a terrible idea. You take them away from all their support systems and then just put them in a cage. You really think, like if they had consulted anyone in medicine, they would have been like, oh, maybe we should do this a different way.
Also, there's drugs in prison, so there's that too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If people want drugs, they're going to get drugs. Like, just chill out a little bit.
Here we go. Last one. November 4th, 1924. American politician Nellie Taylor Ross became the first woman to be elected governor of a U.S. state, Wyoming.
Ooh, go Wyoming. Go Nelly. I like that name.
Nellie, 1924. Nellie like Melly.
Yep. Although I would never go into politics. I would rather I would rather kick a door with a toothpick under my toenail. That is the level at which I would not go into politics. But that's incredible. You don't hear a lot about Wyoming, so that's a good one for the books. I feel like the states you don't hear about is just because things are maybe going fine. Maybe it is really going okay there.
Well, that's it. That's the week.
Woo!
Yeah, that's the week. We'll be back next week. Thanks so much for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a blast.
All right, we'll see everyone next week. Take care, and don't get your head chopped off. Bye.
Bye.